you believe it's only August 8th? It feels like we've already packed in so much, but the month's far from over. We've still got 23 days of sunshine, celebration, and summer fun ahead, and we're just getting warmed up. Welcome to another exciting edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Audrey Williams. We're still riding high on the sweet spirit of Jamaica 63, and today we're flipping through the vibrant pages of our culture, from the heartbeat of our music to the richness of our history and the power of Jamaican enterprise. Stay with us. There's much more coming up right after the news.
Good day, I'm Twila Wheelan, and this is your JS News for Friday, August 8, 2025. 2 years after criminals firebombed a tenement yard in Gregory Park, St. Catherine, work is set to start on a new housing development for the over 38 residents who were affected. On Tuesday, a contract was signed and ground broken for the Serenity Grove Housing Development Project on the government's new social housing program, NSHP. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness explained that getting to this point took time due to procedures involved in ensuring land tenure was secured for the development. This was achieved under provision of the Registration of Titles, Cadastral Mapping and Tenure Clarification Act, which provides for simplifying and speeding up land registration, particularly in cases where ownership is not clearly defined. This was the case with a property located at 44 Walkers Avenue.
The government could have very well invested $105 million here to build 10 units, and somebody could come and produce a title with their lawyer and go to court and say the government violated my property rights, take over the land that I own, to the title here. And no matter what you feel, a court of law would only have to examine the fact. You can't go behind the title. So there is a reason why we have to make sure we perfect the steps.
The project will be done at a cost of $109 million and is expected to be completed in February of 2026. Meanwhile, the lives of over 80 residents of Hanover Street in central Kingston will be transformed with the construction of an apartment complex named The Havens. The contract was signed and ground broken on Thursday for the $189 million project, which is also being implemented under the new social housing program. The complex will include 3 studio units, a 1-bedroom space, 6 2-bedroom units, and 11 3-bedroom accommodations. It, however, will house only 18 of the 21 households that are currently occupying the location, a decision that Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says is being guided by the contractors.
That means we're going to have to figure out how we support the other families. And that is a challenge when we go to do these kinds of social housing program, because when you do your original social survey, sometimes you start off with 10 families. And by the time you go through the process and you come back, they tell you, well, me and him broke up, so it's 2 different families. When we are doing these social housing programs, we always come up with, hit upon some problems. But we are committed to resolve if you have patience, because it does take some time for us to go through the process.
Prime Minister Holness adds that the complex will also have a commercial space to suit the socio-economic context of the people living there. In other news, government has started negotiations with the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, for a new electricity license. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness made the announcement on Wednesday during a ceremony to commission a new liquefied natural gas plant by the Jamaica Broilers Group in St. Catherine.
The truth is, however, that the structure of the license has to be renegotiated for greater efficiency, but also for greater accountability. So that is underway already, and the country can be assured that in the same way we have tackled the big problems, debt, fiscal management, crime, we're going to tackle and bring down the cost of energy to households and firms.
Just last month, the government formally advised JPS that it would not renew the current all-island electricity license under the existing terms when it expires on July 8, 2027. Energy Minister Darrell Vaz has made it clear that the administration does not intend to take over operations of the Light and Power Company. Instead, it will negotiate a new license with more favorable terms. The Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, will be introducing a dedicated campus bus service for students at the University of Technology and the University of the West Indies, starting this academic year. The announcement was made by JUTC Managing Director Owen Ellington during a recent press conference. The move comes in response to growing demand, as more than 20,000 students across both campuses rely on public transportation. There have also been calls for safer, more reliable service following reports of students being victimized while commuting. In the days, the dedicated bus service will travel to both campuses from areas such as Spanish Town, Portmore and Old Harbour, with farther parishes such as Manchester being explored as well.
And in the evening, this is more important, the university students have asked us to provide dedicated transfer services from the campus to the Alpha Tree Transportation Center, to Portmore General Area, to Spanish Town General Area, and to Old Harbour. And we have committed to providing that. So we'll have buses leaving the campus in the evening as late as 9:15 p.m.
Talks are also underway to facilitate weekend travel for university students heading to rural parishes.
And it's our intention, if needs be, to actually take a coach on each of the campus on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning to remove these students to the bus center, transportation center in Alpha Tree, so they can connect to the buses that are doing the rural express routes.
The Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ, has invited several local and international bodies to send representatives to observe the upcoming general election. These include the CARICOM, the Organization of American States, OAS, Commonwealth Secretariat, the Center for Electoral Advisory and Promotion, and Jamaica's Domestic Observer Group, Citizens Action for Free and Fair Elections CAFE. The main purpose of observer missions is to gather information, report on their findings, and make recommendations to the ECJ. The Commission's chairman, Earl Jarrett, says these have contributed significantly to Jamaica meeting international standards for free and fair elections. In the meantime, all Electoral Office of Jamaica EOJ constituency offices will open on Saturdays to facilitate the collection of voter ID cards starting this Saturday, August 9. The offices will open to the public from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Director of Elections Glasspool Brown says the opening hours are being extended in an effort to make it more convenient for registered electors to collect their voter ID cards ahead of the upcoming general election. And finally, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, is reminding Jamaican creatives to protect their intellectual property.
Even at the National Library, we have the Legal Deposit Act, where for every Jamaican who writes, who performs, who records, they should lodge their works at the National Library to protect their works and for preservation. So we're doing everything we can to ensure that we preserve the culture and protect our culture.
She made the appeal during the 63rd Independence Grand Gala at the National Stadium, where thousands turned out for the celebrations. During the ceremony, reggae icons Leroy Sibbles, Capleton and Beres Hammond were honored with the Reggae Icon Awards. The night ended with a spectacular drone display and cultural showcase. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Twila Wheelan. Thanks for watching.
According to the Jamaica Public Service Company, the average cost of electricity is $65 per kilowatt hour. Earning for just 2 hours a week might seem harmless, but over a month, that adds up to 6 kilowatt hours, costing you $455. Using a curling iron for 30 minutes a day, that's 3 kilowatt hours and $195 on your monthly bill. And your hairdryer? Just 30 minutes a day racks up a shocking 45 kilowatt hours, costing you $2,925 per month. Here's a tip. Unplug grooming tools when not in use and limit usage time to save on your light bill.
Thanks for staying with us. If you're a farmer running your own business, our next feature is just for you. We're shining the spotlight on the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, and how registering with them can benefit you and your farm.
If you're running a farming business, registering with the Rural Agricultural Development Authority RADA could be one of the smartest moves you make. But what exactly makes registration so important? One of the biggest benefits is gaining access to receipt books from the Jamaica Agricultural Society. These allow farmers to record every sale of produce. Also, if you're stopped by the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF while transporting goods, having these receipts handy can confirm that your produce was purchased from a registered farmer. But that's not all. Registering with RADA also opens doors to lending facilities. By showing your farmer's ID, you can access financial support and even enjoy discounts at various farm stores. This ID serves as proof that you are an official farmer, which can be a game changer when it comes to securing resources for your business.
Once the farmers are registered, they are able to access these incentives such as duty concession and productive input relief that will assist them with some of the duties that they would pay on their agricultural equipment. There is also one major one where a lot of persons after, say, a natural disaster will come into the RADA office saying that they have lost various produce and products. However, the registration will basically weed out the genuine farmers from the ones that are not registered.
Getting registered with RADA is simple, and there are a few ways to kickstart the process. An extension officer may reach out to introduce the registration process, or you can take the first step by visiting a RADA office once you've heard about the program. Either way, the process is straightforward.
First of all, the farmer needs to ensure that he has his tax registration number, which is the TRN, or his driver's license, as well as another government-issued ID. There is the registration form that should be completed. So it's the various questions that are asked in terms of personal information, name, address, where the farm is located, how long the farmer has been in farming, where is the land located, if the land tenure in terms of if the land is lease, own, rent-free, etc. And the amount of crops, the list of all the crops, when they were planted, or livestock, or any other activities that they are doing. That information is also collected on the farm. After the farmer completes all this information on the form, they are asked to sign the form to state that all the information that was given to the officer is basically true. They will then take a photo ID of the farmer against a plain background, just the top half of the farmer. It's just like a passport picture. So that picture will be taken, and then the form, the registration form, will be then passed on to the extension officer if the extension officer is not the one doing the registration. So when the form is passed on to the extension officer now then goes out in the field to do the verification process. So the verification process is basically to ensure that this is where the farmer lives, this is the farmer telephone number, the crops and livestock are in place, Or is it that some of the times the officer will go out in the field and they will maybe see additional crops that the farmer did not place on the form, then this is added to the form. If it's a case where all the crops are not seen at the time of the registration, or at the time of the verification, then that crop or livestock is basically removed.
Once your registration is verified, the information is uploaded to the agribusiness database and a registration number is generated. This unique number stays with you no matter where you go within the country. After the process is completed, for a small fee of $500, you'll be issued your farmer's ID, which usually takes 6 to 8 weeks to process. Once ready, you'll be notified and you can either pick it up at your local parish office or arrange for delivery. Registering with RADA is a simple and valuable step towards securing your future in farming. With the right support, resources, and access to various benefits, you will be well equipped to grow your farming business.
We all know St. Mary as a parish of bananas, but did you know it's also home to a rich history and hidden treasures just waiting to be explored? This summer, take the journey and experience it all for yourself. Our next feature will show you why.
Banana Parish, Jamaica's largest taino site. We come to you today on Round the Bend from St. Mary. We are watching you could have been the thoughts of the country's first settlers as they were robbed of this beautiful property that is now known as the Rio Nuevo village. Those who remained would have certainly been watching as this area became the final battle site in the war won by the English to gain possession of Jamaica from the Spanish. He says whenever it rains, things just pop up.
So this is Spanish. These are pearl rare. Should have been from this is like 400-500 years old, from the English era, Spanish era. These are farm tools that the slaves would have used. It would have been a machete. Right? If you come here, you'll see other stuff. Well, I'll pick a look back then. The Tainos would find things in nature. I've discovered through our research now to create metaphors in the spirit realm. Right? For instance, this is a zemi, and if you look at it, you see there's a face. There are two faces on it. And if you take a closer look at it, you actually realize that it looks like an owl. We call patu, right? Okay, so they would actually worship this because of what the owl represented in the spirit realm or in nature, which an owl would represent wisdom. This is another. And if you look at this,
The different faces.
the different faces, the faces look like that.
A baby, a monkey, a man.
Look at it good. How about a turtle?
Oh yes,
Ah,
I see a turtle.
yes. Right? So again, back to that now in nature and what it stood for. You know, turtles are master navigators. So it'd be interesting. It would make sense that they would embrace a turtle, because just visualize traveling from, say, the Lesser Antilles and ending up in Jamaica.
What about this one?
This is interesting because this actually came from another location, right? It's not from this property, it's from St. Mary. I call it my workbench. All right, this is a tool that they would use to carve it. This is flintstone. The hole is created from going back and forth over the, so it took a long time for this to actually go all the way through.
So just as now we would use a file to sharpen our cutting device,
exactly.
we would use this
exactly.
to sharpen maybe a machete.
History is everything. So I think it's so important for us to understand where we came from. So it's very important to understand your makeup, what you're made of, to understand oneself. So that's why I think history is so important. And we take so much for granted in terms of nature. And these people were in one with nature. I think the peacock confirmed that, right?
A capital with its own brand name clock, formerly a bustling seaport, under both Spanish and English rules, the town today flaunts a handful of buildings representing the colonial era. With a river and its own island, the town is certainly one of the most scenic in the country.
Just take off the bananas, bring them in on the line, and washing them and boxing them. So, pretty simple, but important process for the bananas. All experts at hand.
After that laborious banana work, we took rest at the parish's botanical garden, which has been in existence since 1862. Come now, rest up with us. This seems as good a place as any to say goodbye to St. Mary, but just for the day.
COVID has taught us many things, and among those is that the dynamics of our environment has shifted somewhat in terms of how people think about themselves in their natural space. I mean, one of the greatest manifestations of that is the workplace. The workplace has changed because of COVID, because Jamaicans, the global citizen, have come to terms with their mortality, now so more than any other time in the world. Because COVID, as I said, has been the greatest equalizer known to man during this last 100 years. Everybody was afraid at some point in time that COVID would have gotten us and would have taken us out. And it never really mattered whether we had money or were poor. whether we're in North America or in Jamaica. And as a human instinct would dictate, many persons are now rethinking how they work, where they work, what time they work, and the concept of self-care and taking care of self, family, community is becoming a lot more relevant. That represents for us an opportunity, particularly because we exist in a pandemic of lifestyle-related ailments. It is how we live that is facilitating our demise to a large extent. The cardiovascular disease, the salts, the sugars, the fats, the tobacco, the alcohol, the lack of rest, the lack of physical activity. We have to get people nudged into greater health-seeking behavior. It cannot just be about cure, it has to be about prevention. And some of it we may have to legislate, like tobacco legislation, like school nutrition policy and what is served in our schools, like sugary drink, our foundation championed that, like the right of people to know what's in their foods, front of package labeling. But the reality is that generally Jamaicans don't like to get a checkup. They go doctor when they're sick. So while we single out men for being a little, afraid, it's better to bear the perception of being violated and detecting your prostate troubles early than to wait until it's too late. And at that stage, the violation don't really matter. So we're going to have to be bold about that and engage in greater community outreach. But I think we have to also advocate for people, Jamaicans, to do their annual screening.
Your devices are important, and so is charging them safely.
Never charge your phones or your laptop in bed, or leave them charging on your sofa or on any material that is flammable. That is a risk that is too great for you to take on.
Instead, charge your devices on a hard surface and always unplug them once fully charged.
From music to pageantry, food to fireworks, the energy was high and the vibes were unforgettable. But with so much happening, chances are you missed a few moments. That's where I come in. We laughed, we cried, we celebrated together, and our newly crowned festival queen hails from Kingston and St. Andrew.
Brittany Clark! Miss Kingston and St. Andrew, now Miss Jamaica Festival Queen 2025.
We sang along to the songs of Abigail Abidi Dunson's Sweet Jamaica, this year's festival song that reminded us why Jamaica is truly sweet. The spirit soared high, even higher in the world of gospel, where Raheem Betty was crowned the 2025 Jamaica Gospel Star. We also took in the sights, sounds, and flavors of Denby and ended the week with the spectacular Grand Gala, a dazzling showcase of Jamaican pride and culture. And there you have it, a vibrant recap of our independence celebrations. We are one people, one nation, one Jamaica. We've come to the end of today's program, and what a journey it's been, filled with rich history, vibrant culture, and valuable information. But don't worry, a brand new chapter unfolds tomorrow, and you definitely won't want to miss it. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the full recap and explore even more content on our website at jis.gov.jm. I'm Audrey Williams. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.